The topic of US immigration to Canada is a nuanced one. Oftentimes, what we hear is that Canada has seen a major increase in immigration from the US since the arrival of President Donald Trump. While this is true to an extent, there is far more to the story. The number of US citizens moving to Canada in recent years has increased, but this is largely due to Canada increasing its overall immigration levels over the same period. A few years ago, Canada was welcoming under 300,000 new immigrants per year, and last year, Canada welcomed just over 340,000 immigrants. And so it makes sense that more US citizens are among this higher level of immigrants coming to Canada. But on a relative basis, the number of US citizens moving here has remained the same over the last few years. It has remained at 3%. Now, the significant growth has actually occurred among individuals living and working in the US who have then decided to pursue permanent residence in Canada. Last year, under the express entry system, which is the main way that Canada's federal government manages skilled worker applications, we saw over 10,000 individuals receive invitations to apply for permanent residence while living in the US. Roughly 85% of these individuals were people who were not US citizens. We can assume that they were workers in the US as well as they were living in the US for other reasons, such as they were studying there, and then they decided to pursue permanent residence in Canada. How much of this can be attributed to President Donald Trump? This is obviously a very popular question, and it's one that we're not going to speculate on. What we can say is that it makes sense that due to immigration uncertainty in the US, which is not just due to President Trump, but it's actually due to challenges with US immigration policy that have existed for several decades now, that more individuals in the US have said to themselves, you know what, we want more certainty for ourselves and for our families, and hence we are going to immigrate to Canada so that we can obtain permanent residence status and eventually citizenship. Now, we have to remember that US immigration system reform is far more difficult to enact than it is here in Canada. And the reason for that is the US has a different government setup compared with Canada. In Canada, we have a Westministerial system in which the government of the day, if they have a majority, can pass immigration reform through Parliament far more easily than in the US. And in fact, in Canada right now, we have a minority government, but even still, it's an easier process to pass immigration reform because so long as the governing party has support from opposition parties, they can make changes to immigration policy. In the US, you need a consensus among the president, the Senate, as well as the House of Representatives. Even when you have one party ruling across these three branches of government, it can still be difficult for them to agree on making changes to policies. And so what this all means is that irrespective of what happens in the US presidential election on November 3rd, it's going to be difficult beyond 2020 for the US to enact immigration policy reform due to the very likelihood that there will be lingering uncertainty. We can expect immigration from the US to Canada to remain strong beyond 2020.